extra round of applause for our catering team today. And also to Neil and Emil as well for capturing it on camera. And then the people that had the stools outside as well. Okay, so we're going to treat the microphone like a talking stick. If you have the microphone, you're allowed to talk. No one else is allowed to talk. You're just going to make a comment on today, any feedback, but also what we've discussed, the retrofitting, what you've learned, anything like that. I won't start.
I just want to thank everyone for your real enthusiasm and willingness to go through a day that was very heavy on information, and to be so generous in your thinking about all of the issues that we need to face for the future. I was really humbled by seeing how much work you put in, so that's my feedback.
Yes, I've enjoyed it. I think it was a really useful exercise to think about all of these 3 different H1, H2, H3 stories. And I thought it was really inspirational to hear about the group in Anfield that have really come together and made a positive difference.
Not sure I've got much to say, but lots to think about.
Yeah, I really liked that exercise and thought that was really interesting. And yeah, all the retrofitting stuff has been really thought-provoking.
I thought it was interesting that it was practical solutions of how to do things that came up, which there's a lot of people do a lot of talking sometimes, but it was interesting to meet Di, who did the eco offices, which I've been to, and it's actually making it happen is something which I think is something that is to be really applauded. Well done.
I didn't do the eco offices.
Didn't you? All right. Sorry, I thought you were.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I felt like I wouldn't really have anything to add when I heard what it was, and friends invited me along, and I was like, retrofitting, I think we're going to the wrong thing. But I've realised it's for everybody. So, yeah, great. Really enjoyed it.
100% agree. I think it was interesting to see, like, from an architect's perspective, whether you'd be talking about like the full spectrum, but you certainly managed to go there from all the way from draft excluders to hempcrete. I think I encourage anybody who's just like starting off with like these baby steps are enough to kind of make a big difference, and it gets a bit addictive after a while. So warning.
Yes, thank you. I think it was a very interesting event, improving from 1 year to another, especially today for the retrofit, including advanced applicable technology, and they make you aware of what's available from a low level, medium and the high level. That was important. And I think the poster and the sticker are very, very informative, and I think, as Margaret said, we'll build on the feedback and the outcome from it on the ongoing transition cafe meeting once every Tuesday. So thank you very much, and the food delicious.
Yeah, very interesting. I've got my questions about understanding what's going on there, but it is a good way to think about things. I think our table was always talking about the very general things which apply equally to Bristol or Bombay, but then it's interesting to see some people talking about actually specific things. I think that's great.
I enjoyed the day. I learned a lot about that process that help me to see other people's idea, also help me to see how I can do and some change in my own life, and also to see what we can do together as a community. Thank you.
Hi, well, I wish I could have been involved with everything that was happening in here as well as being out on the store, but obviously there's a lot of enthusiasm in Liverpool, and I West Yorkshire, I live work in Manchester, but I want to come back to Liverpool as well to be involved more and see what you're doing over here. So I can definitely see there's a lot of positive energy. I think you should keep continuing to build on it.
Enjoyed today. Refreshing that these conversations are happening, and that in a city which has been blighted over the last in recent years by real estate for wealth as opposed to places for people to live. That doesn't mean that students can't live here, just in terms of the processes have been so inhumane and such low quality. And so, yeah, it's great that these conversations are happening. We apply it to ourselves, but also at a scale which is about, very much on a macro level. The discussions have been around what the future would be like as a place to live. And the crumble was great. I had 2 bowls.
We can tell.
Yeah, thank you. Very positive conversation, but I feel like there's elephant in the room in terms of where the big money's going for retrofit, and I feel like it'd be good if the group could write to, I don't know, 28 million that went to retrofit to Peel and Taurus 2 years ago from the City region, because nobody seems to know what they're doing with it. And I think these DIY solutions are really good at modelling and then building up from grassroots, because that's all we can do at the moment, because the policy is so detached from what most people see. So somehow I think bridging the gap between the many membership organisations in civic society, the squash, the homemade, they're all membership organisations. Some of them are geographically local, but in between them it starts to add up to a bit of a local democracy in Liverpool. So I think we need to be in campaigning mode at the moment, as well as in positive thinking mode. So maybe that could be some kind of outcome for future meetings.
I was looking at this also, don't know what happened in the end, but I had a really good day, and I didn't know what retrofitting was until 2 days ago, so I got around to it.
Sort of on from that, I think it's so nice to see people from so many different walks of life and backgrounds coming together to discuss this, and if everyone takes away teaching someone what retrofit is from today, then that's big progress in itself and important to continue outside this room.
Yeah, it looks great. I can't wait to read all the post-it notes. Yeah, I think as an organisation, it's great to see what can be done in terms of workshops and getting the word out there, and even just having conversations and education around it. But I agree with Polly that there's the council level and higher government levels where we can come together. And I think home-baked are kind of trying to bridge that gap as well, home-baked CLT. So maybe we all need to just have a big meeting and kickstart something.
There was a picture that you shared earlier from the Home-Baked Cozy Homes Club conference, which has a similar feel to this, where I think what's nice is it shows retrofit as a small part of a much bigger, more complex picture. So there's stuff in here about biodiversity and health and all of the other factors that make a more sustainable, equitable, whatever, inclusive kind of city region, which I think is nice to keep in mind, because it can be really fascinating. It is going and seeing hempcrete and whatever, and you can get really deep into the details with some of the retrofit stuff. But there is bigger kind of systemic stuff going on, and it's nice to think about that. And Polly, you mentioned a similar kind of there's bigger problems here as well, and if groups like this can come together and take sort of action. Outside of this room, I'm involved in an event series that's being run. There's some flyers outside, which people might, if you liked today, you might want to go along to that. I would be remiss not to mention it. Run by Engage Liverpool, talking about sustainable Liverpool. And one of the weeks we're going to be talking about retrofit. But we've we've got the ear of the local council. We have actually a new sustainability manager in the city council who knows what they'll be like, but he's quite switched on, and he's basically looking for feedback from people like us. Like, he's really open about the challenges the council's facing, and it's up to us to try and help the council solve these problems with the limited levers they've got. So I think if community groups like Squash, like Cosy Homes Club can come together and say, look what we can do with very little support, imagine what we could do with more support, and the council acting as a networker or a funder or whatever else. I think that's getting us towards the green H3 that we're all trying to head towards.
I think it's been a very well organised day. It's been a good combination of handing information out on practical things that people can do and collecting information on what people are thinking and that sort of thing. The food was absolutely delicious. I agree with this point about starting from things that people can DIY, show that, as well as these top-down things that we can show what people can do, and when it gets to a certain size, then I expect, hope that that those things will get taken a lot further. So yeah.
Thank you. I come as a ecologist actually, but I think the observation I'd like to make is cities change very quickly, and anybody who hasn't been to Manchester for 5 years, I think would be pretty shocked. And I think there's concern here about what could happen. I was talking to the canon at the Liverpool Cathedral, and they're very worried that the Liverpool Cathedral is going to be blocked out of the skyline, potentially 2 24-storey buildings on that Chinatown development, which failed. So there are worries, but it is about personality and driving cities with personality from the experience that lies within it. And I think that, that is about us shouting that we're not a trailer, we can be an engine for our own futures. And the danger is that in strategic terms, and this comes from nature recovery and other debates I've been a part of in the city, there's a danger we just look for somebody else's strategy and then say, oh, that's good, we'll take a bit of that ourselves, rather than having the confidence.
For me, this sort of thing is essential, because I can become very, actually, not just despondent, but terrified about the future. And I need to, I read a book not so long ago called Work in the Ruins, which is talks about the importance at the end of it, once you've sort of given up on trying to stop the fossil fuels and everything, is what do we do in the future? And it's all about community. And I need this sort of thing. I need to meet other people who are doing good stuff. And hearing about the Anfield project, and that's really given me heart. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, first of all, I'd really like to thank Tilly, Jordan, Margaret for putting so much work and time and effort into making this a real success. I've been there most of the time, so I know at least the fact that it doesn't just come together. It takes a lot of planning, and it's wonderful to have had so many contributors and people here to sort of get everyone else thinking, because networking in this city is absolutely essential for its future and how it goes forward. Just on a personal note, I think a lot of things, so I'll probably carry on. But thank you to everyone. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those thanks as well to Margaret and Tilly and Jordan and everybody who's been involved in putting today on. I know there's so much effort goes into this, and the planning takes many, many months, and lots of ripping people in to try and make today be the success it's been. And I think for me as well, because I've been to a number of these over the years, and often in this room, and I can see sort of past things that have surfaced in this room, like the Green Network map. Last year we were sort of joined up with bits of string, and there's sort of this sort of sense of continuity in this room for me as well, which is another part of why it's important to come along and seeing familiar faces and new faces as well. It's always a really uplifting thing. So thank you for carrying on and doing this. I agree that this networking thing, sharing lessons and understanding is just so vital. It re-energises people who feel sort of that they're just struggling along without that kind of sense of connection about what the future might hold. From a personal perspective, it was really nice to do the Three Horizons. I've done that before in different contexts. Very different to do it in such a big room with so many different people with different viewpoints on what the future is. And I noticed that there wasn't even a kind of, well, what point in the future are we aiming at? What is the date here? And you know, what's the scope of this? So really difficult to try and draw that together. And I think really positive that you've started that conversation. It's a really important part of transition, this sort of visioning of the future. And I would suggest as well that you look back to some of the work that we've done in this room before. I think it was possibly 2016, 2017, something like that, where there was the people's vision for the Liverpool City region, and some of those things might be able to be popped onto those different horizons as things in either Horizon 2 or Horizon 3 that we might want to carry on, so there's sort of building on past work that's happened as well. But overall, yeah, it's been a really great day, and thank you for putting this on.
Yes, give us the ingredient, please.
Richard just mentioned about the view of the cathedral may be blocked. I've seen the plan, and it's just outrageous. It's so huge. It's an abomination. And you've now convinced me I've got to try and stop it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed Jordan's presentation on the Three Horizons. I'd never thought about things that way before. The practicalities of conflict resolution in terms of planning the three different kinds of people, or three different kinds of competing arguments. The one of the manager, who's determined to keep things as the same or as similar as how they are already, and or the activist or the idealist who has a vision of doing things completely differently, and then the entrepreneur or someone who wants change but is quite different to both the manager and the activist. And I just thought it's a really interesting way of thinking, and I think really helpful on a practical level. Of course, it's a model developed for planning. Obviously, you shared it from an architecture background, but I can see it's applicable to all different kinds of projects and planning, and even a lot of personal relationships. A lot of misunderstanding is because is from coming from these three different points of view. So I really appreciated that.
Could I just mention that Alan mentioned to me that something about two planning things being open for consultation at the moment. Maybe it can be one of them's for this 27 billion thing about hydrogen that was announced, and there's another one that was on. Anyway, she mentioned two, so she's got
Public consultation on the tidal line.
Oh, it's that one, yeah.
Well, no, not really.
Just a comment. Anybody want to say something? Just a comment on the cathedral and the high-rise building. I mean, from history, it looks like we were copying or becoming a clone cities. The same problem happened with St. Paul Cathedral in London, which is very historical. All the high-rise buildings, you can't even see it. And that is really sort of a cultural problem as well, not just the designer and the architect. I mean, just give it a few years' time, you will see Chinatown before recognition with all these high-rise buildings. And maybe already in Metropolitan Cathedral, the university are very active in the high-rise building. So it is a problem. I don't know whether the designer, architect, the city, so I don't know, maybe it needs some discussion, debate about what they're going to do to these historical buildings, because it's already been lost. In London, a lot of historical places were. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say other than thank you for all participating in the Free Horizons workshop so well. I didn't really expect it to go as smoothly as that. Yeah, thank you all.
Just as an announcement, if you found this helpful, you might also be interested in the day at St Bride's next Saturday. Do you know about that? It's the Liverpool City Region Climate Justice Conference. It's from 9:30 till 5, I think, next Saturday at St Bride's. And there'll be a whole series of talks and workshops on different aspects. It will include things like how do we communicate and network together better. It will showcase things like Feeding Liverpool as an example of good practice in making a difference in Liverpool. My mind's gone blank, but it's really worth considering going to that. I think there's something on at the Plenary the next weekend. So what I can say is look on social media, and I think you'll find that if you want to continue going to things like this, there's loads going on. This is only just one small thing.
Can I just inform the Plenary event? It's organized by the Liverpool City Region and something to do with the consultation for the tidal wave, along the Mersey. And I remember in the past, Liverpool University on peer energy put some consultation and spent some, I don't know, about 50,000, something like that, to see feasibility study of building environmental friendly renewable on the tidal wave. But it seems for some reason with this new government, they re-established this tidal wave. And it is a regional event all over Liverpool, Sefton, Warrington, Southport, and you could check it on the website. I think the Plenary, you're right, is sometime next week. Liverpool 8. Thank you. Yeah, the tiger, I think. Yeah.
Can I just mention the forms that I've given you are just feedback for us to have about today's event, and if you don't mind also putting your name and age, or age, you don't have to put your exact age, you could put a vague age if you don't want to be specific, but just so we have that, because we get our funding from Transition Together and they like us to collect some of these things.
Part of quality diversity.
Yes, there is equality diversity as well, but we just need to tick some boxes. So bear with us, please. Thank you.